And we are recording on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, 4:09 p.m. Eastern Time, episode 922 with the one and the only Dr. Diaz. We may not look alike, and we may have technically been born from different mothers in different countries, but Dr. Diaz and I are actually brothers. So a lot of people don't know that. And Dr. Diaz, please introduce yourself.
It's a pleasure, like always, to be here with you. I'm Dr. Alex or Alejandro Diaz. That's a long part of the name. And I'm a pediatric allergist, immunologist, a global health specialist, and immigration doctor. And it's a pleasure always to be with you, brother.
Well,
And
if I'm
obviously, we don't look alike because you're much more better looking than
oh
I am. But
oh you. It's Dr. Diaz has the humble trait and I don't. So I'll smile and just say I am, but like an asshole. Excuse my French. But so Dr. Diaz, you have been on top of more so than other people, you've been on top of monkeypox. I mean, really from we first started talking about it, I want to say like 2 months ago. And you've been sending me articles, you've been sending me links showing the exponential growth of it and how it is not the end of the world like people thought COVID was, but you're very clear to say this is also not nothing. We got, it's kind of the boy who cried wolf. I think a lot of us are very fatigued from COVID, and when they say there's a new, you just kind of like shut up. But you can't do that because there are still very real diseases out there that even if this past one was maybe overblown and unfortunately destroyed the trust in a lot of people, you can't destroy it entirely. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And uh, to practice what I preach, could you maybe inform people what exactly is going on, how bad it is, and what should we be expecting in the future?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tommy, for having me on your show. And it's a pleasure, like always. And yes, well, everything started it on around May 6th, the first week of May, the first outbreak outside of Africa, which is an endemic area, specifically in Central and Western Africa. We have seen monkeypox since 1970. So it was originally in the Democratic Republic of the Congo country, and it started there, and then it went to other places like, let's say, some Liberia, Ivory Coast, the south of Sudan, which is one of the largest countries in Africa, and Sierra Leone. So, many other countries there. It's about 11 countries in Central and Western Africa, but we haven't seen anything like this ever. There was an outbreak back in 2003 in the US where 47 persons got infected with monkeypox. And that was because it was imported rodents and mammals from Nigeria through the state of Texas, specifically in the city of Dallas. And people purchased these mammals and rodents, and they got infected. But that was just about it. Nothing happened. Nothing weird happened. Nobody died. It was just the infection. That's it. But starting on the first week of May this year, 2022, in the United Kingdom, they started to see this outbreaks of monkeypox cases, and then it went down virtually all over Europe. And then around the May 16 or 19, the first case in the United States, actually in the state of Massachusetts. And from there, it just went crazy all over the world, virtually all over the world. So right now, after 4 months of this new outbreak, we have more than 65,000 cases in 106 countries in the 5 continents. And unfortunately, the United States has been severely hit by this disease. We have more than 24,000 cases in the US. We have 7,000 cases, just roughly a little bit more than 7,000 cases in Spain, which is the second largest number of cases. And in Brazil is the third country with almost 7,000 cases. Whereas in China, up until last week, it was the first case, and they have only one case right now. In Russia, they have two cases right now. And if you go to all the countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and so on in that area of the world, including Mongolia, no cases. There are some cases in Japan, Singapore, South Korea, no cases in North Korea. But all over Europe and from Canada to Argentina, full of cases. In Mexico, around 1,500 cases. So the distribution of this disease is quite interesting, you know, from including the geopolitical standpoint. So, you know, there's a lot to discuss about this.
So of the global 65,000, the United States is 24.
Yes, sir. As we
Why
speak.
why is that? What is there any particular reason? I mean, genetically we're a pretty big melting pot, and I wouldn't say that, you know, cities are necessarily something unique to the United States. What is it? If you have the answer, obviously that's a big question.
There is no genetics involved, Tommy. Zero, no genetics at all.
Okay.
Um, there is no tendency for one person more than other person in terms of you know, acquiring the disease from the genetic standpoint, but I think it's more related to behaviors, to specific behaviors. We have seen this disease, you know, and this is information from the WHO and the CDC, that the vast majority of cases worldwide has been in the male homosexual and bisexual community. That's the vast majority of cases. And there are three major causes of transmission. Number one is close contact. Number two, it's sexually transmitted disease. And number three, it's respiratory droplets. So those are the main sources of you know, contagious. And you know, it's interesting how the distribution worldwide of the disease is going, and you know, a lot to analyze about this disease.
Just purely judging from our texts, um, and maybe this is a shallow observation from me, but you seem to be more concerned about this than, say, strep throat or poison ivy or whatever. Um, what is it about this that is, I mean, all diseases are bad, but it's also like, you know, doesn't lessen the burden of it, but miscarriages do happen. But imagine if you're a seasoned doctor, although heartbreaking to see, okay, but they happen. Surgeries do go bad. People don't always get better from cancer. People don't always survive a car crash. That doesn't lessen the the heaviness of those losses, but you also maybe wouldn't ring a bell and say this is crazy. From my, again, shallow observations or superficial observations, you do seem to be more concerned or at least focused on this. What is it about this? And I don't know if I've asked that in past episodes, so please excuse me if I'm going over the same material, but what is it about this that seems to, or in your mind as a medical professional, has you more concerned or perked up?
Well, first of all, Tommy, we have to understand, and we have to look this at from the health, you know, the public health standpoint and the epidemiology standpoint. So, in context, first case ever detected in humans was back in 1970 at the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it has been there for 52 years in 11 countries of Central and Western Africa, with outbreaks every 2 or 3 years. You know, outbreaks here, there, but it has been contained in those countries. you know, plus the outbreak that we had in 2003 with 47 persons got infected in the US. We said that. We went through that. But the main question here for, for doctors and healthcare students and people that understand and study public health, why now we're having this out of the charts outbreak of 65,000 people in 5 continents, in 106 countries, and it's the vast majority in North America, South America, North America, Central America, and South America, and Europe. It seems like the rest of the hemisphere, it's kind of, actually it's very low, very low numbers. Why are we having this? That's a tough question. It's very hard. But something that I can tell you as an immunologist is that just right after or during this pandemic, we have lockdowns, we have the vaccines, excessive hygiene, masks, and so on and so forth. And there is this hygiene hypothesis that it started around the end of the 1980s, probably the beginning of the 90s, by an immunologist, American immunologist, that he started to see that societies that they have hyper hygiene and so on and so forth, they started to get a lot of infections and a lot of allergies and so on. So I definitely believe that it's because of all this lockdowns and everything, this hyper hygiene, that our immune system definitely dropped, and it hasn't been challenged enough. And this is why we're having these outbreaks. But the reason why we are seeing basically on this hemisphere, it's very concerning. I don't know if this is a geopolitical thing or it's a strictly a public health issue or epidemiology issue. It's hard to tell. But if you see the map, if you see the map, how it's distributing, it's kind of a lot of things to think about this.
So if it's not, specific to genetics, so you can rule out why it would be with one country or another. And the hygiene hypothesis would, I would imagine, apply to most of mankind, aside from, really, broken, poor nations. But if anything, everyone would have sort of been leveled out during the lockdowns. I'd say like the hygiene hypothesis has been, equally applied across the world.
Exactly.
And thus it wouldn't necessarily be specific to monkeypox. It would probably be monkeypox is just the one that it is, but it could have been a number of diseases that would take off more than normal. That would. So as a geopolitical issue, in that it was engineered, or do you mean I mean, because I've, as someone that has been banned from most platforms, I have to always clarify that I speak for myself and not for Dr. Diaz or Dr. anybody. But do you mean geopolitical in terms of immigration and free travel? Maybe, more totalitarian countries where everything is locked down, they aren't moving a lot? Or in that is this a form of biowarfare?
Well, Tommy, it's a very tough question. This is a very interesting analysis that we can do, and we can discuss this for weeks and probably not get into a conclusion. But if you see the map, if you see the distribution of the map, how the cases are rising here and there, and why not here and why not there, let's put the example, and everybody will take their own conclusions with some of the information that we will share today. Is that you see Turkey, one case probably until yesterday, and then you see the other places there around there, most Muslim countries, and you see China, only one case. It's a population of, it's an immense population. And then Russia only 2 cases. Large country, over 150 million population with a large land. It's interesting, it's interesting what's going on. Why is the distribution like this? We can think about different things. One, it's probably behavior, public, human behaviors. Um, that can be potentially one of the reasons, one of the causes of this distribution, because one population that we just mentioned, they don't tend to be as much as we think, or as much as people there with this type of behaviors. That I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just saying that geopolitical, it potentially can be that, because I don't see any other reason in terms of the behavior of the distribution.
Because Russia and China, you look at more kind of backwards, not well, backwards totalitarian states like Saudi Arabia, where it is like quite literally illegal to be gay. Do you mean that in terms of? And yeah, it's not a criticism.
I think it's closer to that line, closer, but I'm not saying that it's everything, but it's closer
Sure,
to that line than anything else.
and it's not a criticism. It's an observation. It's a scientific observation. Um, how was, because I was born in 1990, so I don't remember. How does this distribution compared to AIDS in the 80s? Because I feel like that would be a pretty good marker for similarity.
That is a very interesting question. And the distribution, AIDS basically started it just around 1982. First case 1981, 1982. I remember I was still in high school, and it went just globally. It went globally, but still, like specific Muslim countries, they didn't have that much of cases. It was heavy in Africa, heavy in North America, heavy in Europe. So it's interesting that you bring this up, because it was a little bit like what we're seeing right now. So it's interesting. And so monkeypox, Tommy, it's a cousin. It's the cousin of smallpox. Smallpox has been eradicated since 1980 from, WHO showed that it was eradicated from the face of the earth in 1980. And they're cousins. So some of the medications that they developed for smallpox, and at least two of the vaccines that they developed for smallpox, they think it might work for the monkeypox. But I'm starting to see, if we see the numbers that we have right now, just 4 months after the first outbreak outside of Africa, if we continue with this increments in cases worldwide, I'm anticipating that by the end of this year, we're going to be talking about hundreds of thousands of cases. The WHO, they haven't mentioned the word pandemic yet, but let's try to compare, okay? Apples with apples. Okay. So the first declaration of pandemic of COVID, if I remember correctly, was around March 13,
They waited.
2020.
I
They
remember
waited
that.
kind of a lot, and they mentioned that worldwide, that it was a pandemic, when they had 118,000 cases in 120 countries and 5 continents, and 4,000 deaths. Because obviously, it's the behavior of the condition is different. But right now we have 65,000 cases in 106 countries in 5 continents. I think we're pretty close, and very, very few deaths, very few fatalities, very few. I think right now the number of fatalities, if I'm correct, it's 20. So
from monkeypox.
it's not a lethal, disease as it was smallpox. Oh my God, smallpox, the lethality of smallpox, it was up to 38% of people. 38% of
Good
people. On
lord.
the other side of the token, Tommy, I am very, I have been very surprised of what's going on worldwide since what happened with the pandemic and this interpandemic stage that we have seen starting this year in January. We started with hepatitis. I think we discussed a little bit about hepatitis of unknown origin, severe hepatitis of unknown origin in children. And then we're starting to see races in cases of polio in New York, and then meningococcal in Florida, and then now monkeypox in May, and then yesterday in Uganda they started with an outbreak of Ebola. So there's so many things going on at the same time that I really think that the WHO, the CDC, public health officials, epidemiologists, and people alike, they have to come together, and they have to form this committees of intelligent people to try to figure it out what's going on. Because can you imagine if we have all this amount of diseases at the same time? What's going to happen with us? So it's kind of worrisome, this kind of deals.
I do remember that vaguely towards the end of the pandemic or the beginning of the pandemic was uh online. Excuse me. Uh that one of the, like, I guess the maybe positives or the critiques of before it was mainstream to be paranoid, to the people that were being paranoid, the often cited critique was it hasn't been labeled a pandemic, like relax, it's still an epidemic. And me, as guilty as anyone, I was like, well, there we go. It's just an epidemic. And not really kind of seeing the silliness of just changing a word. And now we all act like our hair's on fire. But if there were the numbers that you cited for COVID and deaths, what you said around something like 4,000 before they called it a
4,000
pandemic,
exactly.
and but 20 deaths of monkeypox, is there a reason to call it a pandemic? If, and this is my own, I guess my own shortcomings in medical knowledge will be apparent here, but is there a reason to not call it a pandemic if there's only been 20 deaths? And or is there pandemic fatigue where right, it was like right after World War II, the popularity of like the Korean War, everybody was like, shut up, like we're not doing this, like this just ended. Kind of, I mean, you have a lot of right. We just got out of the Middle East, and everyone's like, I'm not going to the Ukraine. Shut up. Is there any bit of that, which doesn't really sound medical? That sounds more like a personal. But so those two facets, with only 20 deaths, does that qualify like technically as a pandemic? And or is there just a reticence to call it a pandemic because of fatigue?
Basically, Tommy, the definition of pandemic, it's the extension of cases worldwide. It's the extension, not the number of deaths. So we don't have to wait to get more deaths for a given disease, communicable disease, that most of the time pandemics are classified on communicable diseases. But the number of cases, the extension of cases worldwide, I mean, I really think that we are in the vicinity, in the border of calling a pandemic. We're very close. I wouldn't be surprised, and I hope not, but I don't see a way that this monkeypox problem will stop all of a sudden, just like overnight. I don't see how, because it's increasing exponentially,
Exponentially.
and I mean, it really worries people like me, and people that works in public health and doctors, because this is increasing tremendously. And if this continued like this, I wouldn't be surprised that in 2 or 3 months they will call it a pandemic.
So it's the spreading of the disease, not necessarily deaths in a technical term.
Exactly.
But I guess it would be like a terroristic threat against the president. If if I if I own a mercenary force and I have $1 billion and I'm like, I hate this president, I'm probably gonna get a knock on the door from the Secret Service, right? I'm a credible threat. I have intent and I have capability. Versus I'm sure the NSA is vacuuming up however many threats a day across the country from Bob in his cabin in the middle of Montana going, I hate the president. But it's Bob in the middle of his cabin in Montana and he owns a tractor and has like one dog. The Secret Service probably isn't going to waste time on that. Even though it's there, it's probably documented. Versus if, the head of Iran comes out and says death to America, all right, well, they've got a military and they've got an intelligence service. You want to pay attention to that. That doesn't mean that Bob didn't make a threat. It just means that they don't care and it's not really worth the resources. Monkeypox, it could spread, but if the deaths are minimal, and I'm just speaking like I am the spokesperson for the layman, the non-doctors. It's kind of like, okay, that doesn't mean it's not serious, but from the lay person, is it going to kill me? Is it going to kill my family? No, whatever. I'm not saying that's right, but I feel like that's probably how most people would. I could be wrong, but I imagine most people are. There was a chance of your parents dying from COVID, and a lot of people were still like, "Yeah, I don't really care." Like, so if there's no immediate chance of fatality, so I guess we'll have to reword it this way. It's not that it won't be a pandemic. Will we treat it like we did the COVID pandemic, or will it be a pandemic in name only?
Well,
Not
that
that
is,
you have the crystal ball. It's not that you have all the answers, but
yeah. Well, that's really up to the behavior of the disease and the extension, and at the end, it will be that will be up to the public health authorities on WHO and CDC. Let's face it. Basically, the only two institutions in the world that actually can mention that and can actually have a great impact on public health. There are only two. It's
Mhm.
WHO and CDC. That's it. So I really think it's a matter of time, but I'm really worried about the extent and increase of the number of cases. Tommy, this is going kind of crazy, actually.
So could
And
you
just for the sake of and just for the sake of the interview,
sure.
the combination of words that you say, that it was you saying, I didn't say anything, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I always say everything. Podcast is unless someone calls for violence, that's on them. Everything else, it's me. It's the podcast. Dr. Diaz is not accountable. If,
Thank you. Thank
legally,
you.
it's me. You can revoke my medical license that I don't have. So, hmm, how do I word this? So then what your word I'm I don't think I'm pinning it down correctly, which is the lack of my medical degree. What is it about that if fatalities are down and cases are up, what is your I mean, aside from you're a doctor, you clearly have a big heart, you care for people, maybe I'm just cold. What is it that is about the cases increasing exponentially that is worrying you? If it's not wiping people out and not overloading hospitals, is it that this is abnormal from its norm? I guess statistically what this would normally do, its distribution. And if it's got a low fatality, although it's the cousin of smallpox, in my speculating opinion, it doesn't, COVID wasn't a very effective bioweapon. If there's 7 billion people and it killed 6 million, that's less than 1/1000th effectiveness. And if this is at 20 people, that doesn't seem like an effective bioweapon. Then what is your concern then? Is it just the numbers of cases for no other reason that the number of cases are going up? And I don't mean to be critiquing you. It's rather my lack of, I would imagine, medical education. What is it so much about the exponential increase in cases that has you worried?
Well, basically, it's just the number of cases and the natural history of disease. So this is a communicable disease, that it can be sexually transmitted, and it's not a deadly disease. I mean, very few cases, very few deaths, very few fatalities in terms of a large number of cases. So this is not, but potentially, well, not potentially. There is apparently there is treatment right now and two vaccines. So I think it's going along that line that eventually I wouldn't be surprised that, guess what, somebody has to get vaccinated. But it's I think it's kind of too early to call that. But I wouldn't be surprised that at the end of this year, if this continued this route, this pace, we're gonna be talking about in the hundred thousand of cases, unfortunately. Until something happened, what? I don't know.
So to walk that out then, not an effective bioweapon, even if the distribution is wonky. Well, then the next logical conclusion, again, that I'm saying is that for money, they're making a killing. They're making a lot of money. I mean, we've seen it with firefighters where they're not even making money, but there are countless cases of firefighters starting fires to put them out because they like to be the hero. Or maybe they're just bored. I don't know. But if there's money to be made and you have the government acquisition of vaccines in mass from emergency use or emergency authorization, well, they'll just buy 100 million doses. If you're a company with fiduciary responsibilities and you're cashing out hand over fist, and this is like Christmas every day, could it be that this is being incentivized? Is a more virulent strain being engineered not to actually kill anybody or shut down society? Because again, that's what you would do as a nation state or an intelligence service if you wanted to take down another nation. But if you're just trying to make money, yeah, it's like the idea of planned obsolescence, right? You go get a refrigerator from the 70s, it probably still works. Buy a refrigerator today, it'll be broken in 2 years, so you have to buy a new one. They're not trying to kill you with the refrigerator, they're not planting a bomb in it, they just want you to buy another one. It's bad, but it's also like, yeah, it's capitalism, shut up. Could this be, again, in my words, not yours, could this be a case of that? Where if there's really no effect at trying to kill anyone or even shut down the economy, it kinda looks like it's working. We're talking about the exponential growth in cases despite a very, 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 very low number of deaths, far below even COVID, orders of magnitude lower than COVID. Could this be, as me saying, not you, but could this be someone just trying to make a ton of money, make a virulent strain, scare everybody, and then you just cash in on vaccines?
Well, after what happened with COVID, we learned a lot, and we haven't seen anything like this since 1918 to 1920 with the Spanish flu.
Mhm.
So there was not a lot of experience. All those doctors that were there handling that situation, they're all gone. So this is new for everybody. This is a something completely new to. I don't care how good you are as a physician and how much experience, how many books you have written. Uh, no one had the experience to understand and to fight this this pandemic. So, but now I'm starting to see a pattern. I'm starting to see a pattern with all this what we call emergent diseases. That they used to be there, silent, dormant, a little bit there, but all of a sudden they're starting to come up, including TB, tuberculosis. And at the end, you can understand that there's no better way to control societies that than
Sure.
with fear and the health related issues.
Especially if you didn't actually want to destroy the society, right? The quickest way is right, it's terrorism, right? It's a suicide bomb in a subway. But that's from either a religious fundamental or someone that's actually out to destroy society. If you're at the top of the society and society's treating you really well, you've got $1 billion and a yacht, you don't want to destroy it, but maybe you want to control it. Maybe it's not just money. Maybe it's political ambitions. Maybe it's just the never ending quest for power that, humanity has been plagued with since the dawn of time. Yeah. Right. It'd be like if I wanted to sell you, Dr. Diaz, bulletproof windows for your house. But you're my friend and you're a good podcast guest. So I actually, I don't want you to die and I don't want to kill you. That's illegal. I might, though, if I'm making a ton of money off bulletproof windows, I might fire some blanks at your house, right? And then maybe shoot it with a BB gun. Just enough to milk the money out of you, but I don't actually want to hurt you. It could be something like that. Or maybe not even making money. The control thing, what if I just want you to stay home? That's what I do, right? It's literally cover fire, where you fire in the direction of the enemy as your buddy runs behind cover. So, and the only reason I bring this up is because what you're saying about the distribution. If this was worldwide, I guess you could maybe still apply the quest for power. That would still be applicable. But especially if it's only in Western countries. But then again, and I know I'm jumping back and forth, it also could be we are a more progressive society. We are not, we are not a Sharia state or a theocratic state that, bans homosexuals and lesbians. It's just, that's something where an observation would be that probably would spread more here. I don't know. Or the thing I don't like though about all of it, it's odd that it's only in Western countries. That's weird, but it could kind of make sense just by homosexual behavior, the progressiveness of our society. But I don't like the fact that it's a cousin of smallpox. That's that's not innocent. That's not. It's one thing if it's a cousin of strep throat. You're like, yeah, strep throat sucks. It's a cousin of smallpox. That's what'd you say earlier? 38%. That is a killer. But maybe there's an Occam's razor to all of this, and it's reduced immune systems from either over hygiene or from vaccine injury. And in which case, we're seeing monkeypox rise, but it could have been any disease, and it probably will continue to be other diseases. And in a year, we might say, oh, yeah, monkeypox, but also TB, also this, that, the other, which is all still bad, but it is a little less nefarious.
Yes. And we can analyze this from this perspective, Tommy. So why, and this is the why, and this is to everybody, so we can analyze. Everyone, whenever they're watching this podcast, they will analyze and they will ask the question why in 2003 in the United States, when we had this outbreak of 47 people with monkeypox, nothing happened. 47, that's it. End of the story. Now, whereas in 2022, starting in May, why we have in the United States 24,000 cases. What was then and what is now? What was in between? There's only one thing. So everybody, they can make their conclusions.
What could it be?
I didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything. You're innocent. I'll say it. I'll say it. Is the mandated experimental gene therapy. It's almost like that. You've seen all those like news articles over the past several months where it's like climate change may be causing heart attacks. If you shampoo your hair with your left hand, you might have a heart attack. Young men gardening might have a heart attack. If you people that shovel snow always tend that is a thing. You shovel snow and you have a heart attack because you're sedentary all winter. Podcasters sitting up in a chair have heart attacks at young age. I saw a parody article, and it's from like a satire news site, and it goes, Heart attacks from everything except the thing we forced you to take. That's kind of like the verboten topic. Was it this? Was it the thing that was mandated? Was it the thing that was called safe and effective and that everyone got on board with? And if you didn't, you were a pariah. Could this be a case of like mass ego where no one wants to admit it's when you have to admit that you were wrong. It's a really bad feeling. At the end, it feels good because you grow and you feel more mature, but right, it's that bad moment where you have to realize that you were wrong halfway through an argument and you yeah, no, you're right, I'm wrong. It's a bad feeling. It's a human feeling. Could it be that no one wants to, and maybe not only ego, maybe also criminally, you know, I'm sure there did someone know this during trials that this could happen and they quashed it and they are now responsible for destroyed immune systems. And monkeypox is just the first thing that's rising of many. I mean, that's grounds for jail. That's a crime against humanity. Best case scenario is jail. Could it be something like that? And I know again, these are my wild speculations, not yours, but I'm asking you, could it be something like that where A, either no one wants to admit it because it means that you were wrong, or B, there's a lot of government officials and a lot of CEOs and a lot of celebrities on camera multiple times still tweeting, take the vaccine, do this, or you can't have your job. And what if it turns out that's what's causing this epidemic, soon to be pandemic? Could it be that?
Well, it's been a lot of things, and since as you know, Tommy, I've been studying and tracking and following what happened with the pandemic since the first day, since December 19 of 2019. I was one of those doctors that actively were tracking cases and creating communities of doctors internationally to try to understand exactly what was happening, because I had the sense that there was going to be out of control, and it
Mm-hmm.
did. It happened, and we learned a lot. Have you seen? Obviously, you have, but this people collapsing in front of the cameras and having massive heart attacks and
Athletes?
pericarditis, myocarditis, and weird and rare cancers and so on and so forth. Uh, After what just we've been living this last 18, 20 months,
Mm-hmm.
it's been totally incredible. It's incredible, and we've seen all the time, every day.
How come we're not? It might just be the effectiveness of the censorship machine. How come we haven't seen more doctors stand up to this? Because that's like one of the things I loved about being pre-med. And I hated calculus, but like what I loved about organic chemistry, I loved physiology, I loved microbiology and cellular biology and physics and astronomy because it was definitive. If you took English literature or creative writing, the teacher marks you wrong because you used the wrong tense of a word. But I would always get angry. I'd be like, language is made up anyway. It's none of it's real, right? Versus like physics, it's like, nope, this water bottle, it's fallen. Water has this density. Organic chemistry, you add a ketone and palladium with heat, it's gonna cause this SN1 I just loved the finality of it because there was no wiggle room. There was no negotiating. It's you got it right or you got it wrong. And that's what I will always love about science. I've been disillusioned and really, but above all else, just surprised that you don't have across the board 100% of doctors pointing this out and saying, why are these young people having heart attacks? Why are these athletes the healthiest people in the world? Why are kids having myocarditis? What are these fibrin clots? What are
I'm sorry, two main reasons,
okay?
Tommy. Two main reasons. Either or are combined.
Okay.
Number one, ignorance. Number two, fear.
Mm.
So unfortunately, the vast majority of allopathic doctors, the vast majority worldwide, I'm talking about worldwide, we've been brainwashed since the first day of medical school. Since the first day, they kept us very busy all the time, very, very busy all the time through medical school, through internship, through residency, and then through work and so on and so forth, that they don't give you time for critical thinking.
Okay.
You're only everything what the book says or
Yeah.
the article.
Just next step.
Guess who's writing those articles? Guess who's writing those books and sponsors and here and there. So we have to be critical. We have to have and create a critical thinking to go and see it outside of the box. That's the only way we can have and create better doctors, better physicians, more in relationship with the patient as a whole, as a holistic approach,
Mm-hmm.
and it will change completely the way people in the world see healthcare, and that's what I call biopolitics. It's
Biopolitics.
very interesting. This time we
That
can
is.
spend a week talking about only biopolitics.
Never actually heard that phrase before, that word before. But
It's interesting.
that is, I mean, I guess that is the next logical conclusion, right? Is yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd always be confused when I'd like meet like a doctor or something when I was shadowing doctors who was like a jerk or who had bad social skills. Because in my mind, I was like, but you're so smart. Like you're a brain surgeon. Like you got through medical school, internship, residency, fellowship. And it took me a while to realize like you can be brilliant in one thing and lacking in another. I mean, I can't say who because it will give away who it is, but I know someone who is one of the top like medical officials in the US from like college. And my friend used to be like, yeah, but dude, he he forgets to tie his shoes. Like legal genius, but forgets that, you know. Who knows? Maybe Tom Brady can't do a math problem, but he wins Super Bowls, so nobody cares. It could be,
Exactly.
it might be that it's ignorant, right? When you're tired, that's what dictators and generals have said throughout history. Keep your men exhausted and they won't revolt. They don't have time to. You're digging ditches. We're marching. You don't have
Exactly
time
right.
to think about what are we doing? You just it's 3 square meals. You got a bed, and tomorrow we're climbing that mountain and we're digging you don't necessarily think about what is Stalin doing, right? And that's not your own fault. That's the evilness of the leader. But I don't think that's necessarily intentional in medical school. I don't think there's some top-down group that's like keep them busy. I think that's the nature of, and maybe I'm being too patient with it because I will always love medicine. I feel like that might just be the nature of the beast is like, yeah, that is medical school. That is residency. It's just you're a zombie just going the years just blend together as you're just working and working and working. You probably don't have any time to develop critical thought, and nor do you care because you're so tired and you have so many pages to read. Yeah, I mean, do you think this then leads to like a shakeup? Do you think in a year or 10 years we'll maybe start having like critical critical thinking classes in medical school? Like, will they learn from, in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, will they look back at COVID and, learn from that and say, like, always question authority, don't just walk along? Or is this not just ignorance? Are they smart enough to know what's going on? But like you said, is it just fear? Which I can't condone, but I also can't necessarily, you know, judge because who hasn't been fearful in their life? Who hasn't shut up and just stayed in line? What if you had to guess which one it was more of? Is it fear or ignorance?
I think it's a well, it's a combination of both things at some level, and I really think that the educational level of medicine worldwide, the syllabus, the 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 way they create the syllabus, it has to be reshaped and recreated. We have to We have to create a new generation of doctors that have a critical thinking and understand at a more holistic approach the patient, because you're not treating diseases, you're treating humans, you're treating somebody, what I call the 360-degree view. If you are focusing only in the disease what is written on the book or on the article, you're going to miss 95% of the movie.
Yeah.
You have to see the whole sphere, the 360 degree, to understand exactly what's going on with your patient, because you want to relieve that pressure, that spiritual, physical, morally, and so on and so forth problems that they, sometimes the patient, they just want to have a chat with somebody, have a conversation with somebody, and many of the times it's a doctor,
Yeah.
and they come here and they want to be listened by somebody, and
Yeah.
that's an unparalleled opportunity for doctors to provide good quality healthcare service to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Just listen to them, try to understand them, and try to not everything is relieved by medication.
Yeah. It's not everything is like a stethoscope. Sometimes you have someone
Exactly.
that's just scared shitless and they tell you about a bump on their shoulder. And it's really not even about the bump, it's just scar tissue. But you are the guy in the white coat or the woman, and they just kinda need to be able to talk to you, and you just that's bedside. That's literally that was, like, part of the interview at Miami Medical School in 2013, was bedside manner. I mean, they literally put you in, like, a simulation. You had to go talk to I think I failed at it, but, like, it's that is part of it is bedside manner. So, I know we gotta wrap it up in next 5-10 minutes so if we are going on the hygiene hypothesis, especially after COVID, and or the suppressed immune system hypothesis, to support that hypothesis, what predictions would you make in support of that? Is it that monkeypox is just the beginning and we will see another disease that maybe doesn't, like you said, what happened in 2003, 47 cases? Why is it 24,000 now? To support that hypothesis, should we see another disease rise, not just monkeypox? So what can you look
That's
into
exactly
more
right. That's exactly right. And actually, we're starting to see polio, meningococcal rises, raising cases of TB, and now Ebola in countries like, for example, in Uganda, the last outbreak was in 2012. And yesterday, they saw a 24-year-old male with signs and symptoms of Ebola. They did the testing, and it was Ebola. And Ebola, it has a lethal rate from 41% to 100%. You
Oh,
haven't seen a disease like this ever.
oh god.
From 41% to 100% people die out of Ebola. And that's complicated.
That's you said smallpox is 38?
Exactly. And now with Ebola, and we started to see that, and then with the general or universal weakened immune system and everything that we just went through with this kind of bugs, I don't know what's going to happen. And this is, I'm not here to bring bad news, but just reality. This is what we're living and what we're facing on a daily basis, Tommy.
Yeah.
We just have to be awake. We just have to awake and understand exactly what's going on. And this is why we have to create the committees of great doctors, like people like our good friend Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Robert Malone, Pierre Corey, Dr. Joseph Mercola, and Dr. Gold, and so on and so forth. There are brave doctors. They're bringing their feelings, their heart, their braveness, their knowledge, and everything, regardless of the consequences.
Mhm.
And they're there, but they're just a very few. We need
Yeah.
more people,
Yeah.
more more people brave enough to bring truth
Yeah.
and hope.
Yeah, and it's always easy to pawn off responsibility on someone, right? I don't have kids, so it's very easy for me to give advice about kids. I can go, "You need to raise your kid. You need to do that full time. That's your responsibility." But I also don't have that responsibility, so I'm allowed to go pursue everything I want in my own life, whereas I have other friends who are 32 who all they're probably great fathers, but maybe they miss freedom. I'm kind of a jerk for being able to sit here and go, "Yeah, no, you should take care of your kids," and then just not give it a second thought. That being said, the pawning off of responsibility, it's easy to go look at the CIA and the FBI after 9/11 and go, "What's wrong with you?" And it's like, yeah, they are the experts, but at the same time, like, you know, you can't always pawn it off. But at the same time, it's a, what's wrong with you? You are the experts. We are all responsible, but there is, and it's easy for me to say because I'm not a doctor, but there's definitely a disproportionate amount of responsibility on doctors. You guys and gals are the professionals with the white coats. You're the trustworthy ones. And much like there is bedside manner, where sometimes they just need someone to talk to, doctors also sometimes have to be jerks or appear as jerks and go, "Hey, I get what you're saying. The reality is this is you need to lose weight." I've had a doctor tell me that, and all of a sudden you realize, "Oh, I'm not 18 anymore." What do you mean? I'm 29. Well, you got a little bit of a belly. Sorry, dude. Start walking more. It hurts my feelings. Your body does not care about your adipose your feelings, the adipose tissue and the hardening of your arteries does not care how you feel. But a doctor's there to tell you that, whether you like it or not, because they're there to make, first do no harm. So there is, I'm gonna pawn it off, there is a disproportionate amount of responsibility on doctors to stand up and tell the truth because that's who is trusted the most. And if a politician says we're doing this and no doctors oppose it, that's silent endorsement. If a bunch of doctors stand up and say, "No, no, 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 I went to 30 years of school," that has power.
That's true. That's totally true on one side of the token. On the
Sure.
other side of the token, Tommy, and this is a reality that we're facing on a daily basis, just watching the news or reading the newspapers or social media and so on. Uh, there's a lot of lack of trust in this worldwide healthcare authorities right now because of
Because of COVID.
we're seeing it on a daily basis every day. So we have to work now more than before to try to have that accountability because we're losing accountability with people.
Yeah.
That's on one side of the token. On the other side of the token, even my heroes and these amazing doctors that they brought light of what's going on with the COVID and the pandemic. I see very, including them, I see very few doctors worldwide that they're talking about monkeypox. I don't
Mhm.
know why, and I don't understand why. They're totally focused on COVID. I mean, COVID, it's past, it's part of the past. I think it's over. It's over. It's going to be, and I said it in the beginning of the pandemic. I said it probably the second week of January of 2020. I said, this virus is here to stay, is going to stay forever. They're not going to mandate, but they're going to recommend the vaccine once a year, just like influenza. And it will be like that. It will be like that. You will see it. And then, you know, everybody turned about talk about the pandemic and everything, and they're still talking about pandemic. It's gone.
Mm.
It's already gone.
Yeah.
It's gonna be here forever. It's here to stay. But now we have monkeypox, and we have all these outbreaks of all these other diseases worldwide here and there, and no one's talking about that. I'm worried about that.
Yeah, that's odd because that's not even fear. There are a lot of people that didn't wanna talk about COVID or because of there seems to be no censorship about monkeypox. It's like no one, so what's that? Is it just I don't even know what that. Yeah, that's not fear because there's no one. You don't get banned for talking about monkeypox. Why is that?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I've been tracking cases, and
I,
I've
I
been
know.
talking to my doctor friends in Congo, in Africa, in Singapore, in Japan, in different places, and this is increasing tremendously, Tommy. It's something that let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Today is Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. We will see what happens. And I hope nothing happens. I hope it's boring and I hope we're wrong. But I don't really believe that that's going to be the case. But Dr. Diaz, it is exactly 1 hour and I will let you go because I said I wouldn't keep you longer than an hour, even though I always say that. And then I always do keep you longer. I'm evolving much like a disease. I'm evolving. I'm escaping vaccines, and I'm natural selection is fine honing me to be a better guest or a better host. I'm losing my mind. Dr. Diaz, closing thoughts, closing words.
Tommy, last but not least, it's an honor. It's an honor always to be with you.
Thank you.
I learn a lot all the time with you, and
Thank you.
thank you for giving me the opportunity. And we just have to stay tuned and
Absolutely.
see what's going to happen in the next couple of months. I hope things get better. That's my hope. But reality sometimes it's uh, it's worse than fiction.
Yeah, yeah, that's stranger than fiction. Sometimes it's worse, but
Exactly.
you also can't ignore it. Just because it's worse doesn't mean we can pretend it's not happening. And
Correct.
Dr. Diaz, thank you for coming on here. Thank you for giving me your time. I love having you on. And of course, you know I love you, Dr. Diaz. You're the best.
Same
So
here, brother. Thank you so much. God bless you,
it's
and
all
we'll stay in
love.
touch. Okay.
Yes, sir. God bless. Dr. Diaz, everybody. I'll send you this episode when it's up. We will schedule another one. Thank you so much.